FS1, man, they started firing people like nobody's business. Fox Sports.
Can I say something, Tim, real quick?
Go ahead.
Before we get on to all the situation of Joy Taylor and all that.
Yeah.
FS1, Fox, they've lost people and viewership numbers, not for the shows that were on there. They lost viewerships for the contracts they negligently get to for different cable companies and providers. They're looking at viewership and numbers. Like, this show doesn't do this, and this show's not getting to.
So you're saying it goes with the cable company?
Yeah. Had they not been busted on Spectrum, and have they not done screwy deals with like these huge cable companies, I'm sure the viewership numbers would have been a lot better, and some of these shows that they're canceling and that they're moving on from will kind of probably be, still there. But go ahead and
yeah. So I've been talking about her on my show. I don't think we did talk about it, but I'm trying to get into more topics that ESPN and those guys don't cover to build this program up. And the thing about Joy Taylor, as I told the audience beforehand, when this lawsuit for this hairstylist came up back in April, with this sexual harassment thing against this guy named, I think his name is Jamie Dixon, if I'm not mistaken. He is vice president at Fox. There was two. She was a hairstylist. There was another lawsuit against this woman. Brought this, long story short, quick recap. She brought the attention of Joy Taylor. Taylor told her to get over it. Then allegations of Taylor sleeping with this guy. This is all out here. This ain't me saying this. For basically to get a better job, to get a better show and whatnot. Then allegations, by the way, this guy's married. I looked this up today before I started the program. He's married with 2 kids. Then there's allegations of her sleeping with Emmanuel Acho to get on the show with him. Kind of lost her way. She used to work with Colin Cowherd. She comes off as a person, talks about grew up in the church and blah, blah, blah. My opinion, she kind of lost her way. I think she got caught up in the sports Hollywood, air quote, kind of scene there. She's the younger sister of Jason Taylor, used to play for the Miami Dolphins, kind of lost her way a little bit. Going back to this hairstylist, once she made this lawsuit, then another lawsuit came against this guy. Then he got fired back in April. Now, fast forward to this week in July, I guess because they were getting ready for the fall, they wanted to cut the cord on a lot of shows, including one of them was Craig Carton, who has his own past. You're familiar with WFAN, right?
Right.
He had some gambling issues from a scandal that got him in prison. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, ticket scandal. No.
Ticket scandal. Yeah, you're a New Yorker. You know about this story.
Right.
He got a second chance. I think he's a pretty talented guy. Cart's pretty good. But the show, they didn't like the show. Marcellus Wiley, I wanted to do this yesterday, but former employee left there. He's basically saying that everything tied to this guy was toxic, and they wanted to cut all those ties from that vice president from Fox, and anything tied to Joy Taylor, from Joy Taylor to this, guys like LaShawn McCoy had a show, Paul Pierce, excuse me.
Okay.
Paul Pierce. But Mark Schlereth's show was cut. Now, Schlereth still does. He said this today or yesterday. He's still on NFL Fox.
Right.
And he does a radio show in Denver. I like Sheriff. You've mentioned Sheriff Schlereth before too.
Right.
I think he'll bounce back. I guess really my whole point is, and plus they're talking today Portnoy and the Barstool guys to bring some of those guys in to replace. I think the narrative to this is you build your own brand up. You have an audience. You're cancel proof. If you want to be a snake in the grass and suck up to the bosses and play the victim, because she's done this before. At some point you're going to have to deliver big numbers, or just like you got favor, you can get fired just as quick as you can get hired. So that's my take. It's a long-winded answer. What's your take about that? As far as the other side of it, they simply just wasn't getting good numbers, and they wanted to get rid of that toxic cloud hanging over him from Taylor and this former vice president.
Well, I feel like they took a page out of ESPN's book too. Like when that stuff was happening, on the other side of the river, they're like, oh, these people in Connecticut having issues too. We can just do the same thing they did, and that's what they're doing. They're cutting shows, they're cutting ties with people. Some of them will rebound. Some of them might be affected by it a lot more than others. I think that Joy Taylor, like, I like her outtakes. She's very opinionated. But she uses a lot of facts to back them up for her opinion. So, I just think that she might have an opportunity to go to CBS. CBS has been doing a good job, and they do a very good job on building women correspondents. They have a lot of shows for women sports, about women's sports, about women in the industry. So she could bounce back quick if she was, if she uses her talent. And I don't think that was the last of her, to be honest with you. So
do you think she'll lean into that sex thing and maybe go jump on like there's a real popular podcast called Who's Your Daddy podcast, a sex podcast, very popular, millions. Or go into OnlyFans? You think she'll go to the dark side like that? Or do you think, she probably won't do that. She'll learn from her mistakes.
I think what she said was kind of relevant to what the stage that she was in her life, and her age has to do with her age as well. I feel like she's in that time frame in her life where she's going to look at her age and what she could be doing. And I think she's going to steer away from that because she's brought herself up to be and talk as a professional. I think she wants to keep herself at that point. The point
she kind of lost her way and got up in the Hollywood.
I feel like she made personal decisions, like everybody does in any kind of industry, and I feel like she got, she's a martyr for that, I guess. And you could say that. She's gonna get her, and but she could. She has a perspective and she has skills and ability that if I'm and as a fan and I'm watching this as a sports fan, I wouldn't mind seeing her again in something else. There's some people who do things, say things, and have a way about them where you're like, well, they get off of TV. I don't know if I ever want to see them. You mentioned a name like Wiley. I like how he talks. I like how the things that he says. He's very Marcellus Wiley is a very professional and a very well-spoken person. Yeah. So I want to see him again in something different. So
him and Jason Whitlock, not to interrupt you, they left because they were lowballed.
Right.
And they wouldn't necessarily fire. Speak for Yourself was good.
Right, yeah.
But the executives there did not like that.
Yeah.
And they got too close to home on their takes,
That's the nature of the beast. That's the industry that's the way it is. And that's not going to change. And you just got to make one small mistake or say something erroneous, and then you're like
it irritates a person with authority,
right? So then but I feel like with Joy Taylor, I feel like she'll be back. And I feel like if she doesn't use the CBS platform and she goes somewhere else and does something other than that, I feel like she'll be cutting herself short, because I feel like that platform, they've done a lot of work in podcasts and in the news to strengthen the perspective for women in sports,
That's
and
a
I
good
feel like
prediction. She might bounce back there.
And as far as the other shows, I feel like they were too football laden, and sports fans lost interest because it was just like 70-80% football, and it was not other sports. And in the morning, you don't just want to hear about one sport. You want to hear what's going on everywhere, because it's their morning shows. So had they just been 20% different sports, then I think they would have done better. A lot of the
or they just don't carry the audience. Like, for example, people don't like Stephen A, but he has his Colin Cowherd, Stephen A. They carry an audience, even though Shannon Sharp may have lost his way at Fox or ESPN now. He had an allegation. He has a big audience, though,
right.
with his other podcasts. Right. I don't think a lot of them people can carry an audience. I think Marcellus Wiley and Jason Whitlock, although he's went more political, I think they have their smaller audiences. But those big names, like even Dave Portnoy, people don't like Dave Portnoy, but he carries an audience, man. He has a following, excuse me.
Yeah, the Barstools has a following. If Fox wants to dip into that, then good for them. If Barstool wants to dip into Fox, I'm not sure they want to go that route. But if they want to do that, I just feel like Fox is, as a whole cable company, as a whole provider of content, they limit themselves by trying to get way too much for the content that they provide. And some of the shows that we've watched, that we've enjoyed, even the football shows that they have with some of the former guys that you're talking about that just got fired this week, these guys know football. They could carry a football audience, but then you're forcing them to talk other sports.
Yeah.
And then their opinions always start then coming off like ours, because we're not basketball players, we're not football players. We start talking about these things. So then the audience members like, oh, my opinion.
You got to build your own following, and you can't depend on them to build your following. You have to have your own following and Q rating. That's where the money's at. You got anything else you need to plug, man?